So welcome back. I'm going to be talking about part of my transition into getting out of the matrix, getting out of my mind, out of, mind control, I guess. And that was all began when I went to Bali. Now, it was by accident that I was in Bali, but there are no accidents, right? I'd booked to go and to be with someone else in Bali, but they didn't end up going. So I went anyway, and I looked up if there was an ayahuasca ceremony going on. And guess what? There was one that was occurring the day after I arrived, and I was only going to be there for about 5 or 6 days. And I always wanted to do the ayahuasca, and ayahuasca is where you take a plant medicine and you drink this substance, and it shows you and it's very intense, very profound. There's a lot of throwing up and a lot of purging and that sort of thing. But it will show you what's inside you. It shows up what you need to change. It talks to you, and it's incredible. It always gives you the message you need to know. Now that sounds bizarre, but that is actually, in hindsight, I now totally believe I was told that, but now I look back and I think that's so true. So I'm in Bali, and I was doing an ayahuasca ceremony, my very first, and I remember being in the circle and feeling very sensitive because you don't eat much, you fast a lot, and it's like this purification process. And then, I think I did a Kambo experience, which is another form of, frog venom put on you, and that makes you purge out stuff as well. But anyway, let's get back to this ayahuasca experience. So here we are at night in Bali, out on the deck, and everyone's purging and so forth, and the girl next to me is like, hitting her legs on she's like, being nervous or something right next to me. I couldn't tolerate being around them, and I felt highly sensitive, and I thought, I can't do this. I can't be around their energy. So I picked myself up, took my sleeping bag, which was what I was sleeping on, and moved down the end of the deck, which is far away. And the guy comes over and says, you can't do that, you can't leave the group because you need to be watched, because it can be dangerous. It depends on, because some people that have been on also series of medications and so forth, they're actually contraindicated, and some people don't reveal all that stuff, and it's an intense process, so you need to be monitored. That's why there are people there watching you. And I go, no, I said to the guy, no, I can't do that. And I felt him looking at me. He's like, no, you got to do it. It's like it's what you have to do. You have to face your stuff. Then anyway, Naisha, who was the woman shaman, came over, and she said to me, she looked at me, she didn't make me go back with the group, but she looked at me and said, you just got to go through dark night of the soul. And I kind of smiled at her, and I thought, after the whole process, I thought, you know what? I've gone through Dark Night of the Soul. I think that's why I didn't really go through Dark Night of the Soul in the ayahuasca ceremony. I've really worked through a lot of healing processes, which ayahuasca would have done in a really intense kind of like crazy way, but I'd done through forensic healing and healing myself. But what I experienced in that ayahuasca night was my mind was in the matrix. It was in a box, and everywhere I opened my eyes, everything looked fake. The trees looked fake, and when I closed my eyes, I just saw clown faces. I saw soldiers, toy soldiers. It was like this. I could not. Everywhere I was looking in my mind, because this is what occurs. Ayahuasca shows you images, and again makes you feel an experience. And I couldn't get out of this. And it was actually a bit stressful. I kept in my mind these clown faces, these soldiers, fake, fake, fake. That's all I could think of. Everything is fake. I feel like I'm at this, Luna Park, or at this, fake kind of, the Luna Park places, or those kids places that you go to where there's those joy rides and those clowns with their mouths open and you put in balls. It's all sort of artificial. It's very artificial. It's most opposed to nature, right? Well, that's what it felt like I was in, and I couldn't get out. So the leader there, Naisha, came and she sang over me. And it was after she finished singing that the images and the visions totally left me. And then I felt at peace. And so hindsight now, I think, I look back and I think that it was getting my mind out of the matrix. And I didn't, because how do you do that? How do you get your mind out of the matrix? How do you even know it's in the matrix? How do you deal with that? Well, that's what the soul module is going to be doing, but that is what occurred before I started to find the truth of how our mind is in the matrix. It has got mind control on it. There is implants in it. There's this webbing. There's this false ascension process and false white light and false ways to, get out of, we think we're being spiritual and we're led down the garden path. So that was the ayahuasca experience that brought me to creating Soul Module. It's what happened before, and that's what needed to happen. I can't do something for you, or I can't create something for you unless it's, done for myself. So that's part of the journey behind and getting your mind out of the matrix. And I think getting your mind out of the matrix is when you will go to a complete knowing and a complete peace inside yourself, and no matter what happens, and there's a disconnect from the trauma and the abuse. And that's what needs to happen, because when you connect to that, which is how also black magic is done, when you connect to abuse and trauma and pain, you carry it in you, and therefore you then take that with you and then draw more of it to you. That's universal law. That's what law of attraction is. When you understand that, you understand, this is when you think, you go, what am I thinking? What is in my energy field? Because that multiplies. I take that with me and it multiplies. Just as if you ate toxic foods, your body then becomes toxic. And it's not being harsh, or it's not being not compassionate by saying I'm not going to connect to it. That's not what I'm talking about. If I see something inhumane, or if I do something, if I see something horrific, I start. First of all, I send energy to whomever on whatever that might be, and then I raise my vibration and I say, you know what, I've created that. That's part of my creation. I need to shift and heal myself and raise myself more. And when I do that, I'm more powerful as a healer. I can then send energy more powerfully, and it's more effective when I am not affected, or I'm not have pain or inhumanity in my energy field. It's, again, just look at the universal law. The more powerful you become by getting yourself more aligned and more peaceful, the more you can help others. That is really how it's done. We go in to go out.